I feel like last time we went off the deep end with the White Tower girls. We had a decently coherent first episode with them. The second episode, John basically sent it back to me with the tagline, "Good luck editing that." So we'll see how that turns out. But we're back with a little bit, maybe a little calmer situation this time. It was a lot of fun, though, with the White Tower. So we had a blast. And we're looking forward to seeing them at JordanCon and SpoilerCon.
Hey.
They have already bought tickets for SpoilerCon. So if you are a fan of the White Tower or, Wheel of Time podcast in general, it looks like it's going to be a full house.
Yes. And for all of you folks who are near us or not so near us, please remember to go buy your tickets for SpoilerCon. And register in advance so we can accommodate you as you come. Otherwise, you're sleeping on the floor. SpoilerCon.org. Go, look, register.
And if you're even thinking about coming, go register with a hotel. It's free, right? Just get a hotel room reserved. Even before you buy a ticket, you don't have to spend a cent, and you can go reserve your hotel room. But that's going to help us out.
This is the Wheel of Time Spoilers podcast. Your hosts are Seth Jacobson and Patrick Heiler.
Hi, I'm Seth.
And I'm Patrick. Chapter 43, Care for the Living. And her symbol is the Flame of Tarvalon. Taking Stepper's bridle, Varen led him to the Winespring Inn herself, the crowd melting back to let her through, then falling in after. Daniel and Ban and the others trailed along on horse and afoot, kin mingling with them now. Astounded as they were by the changes in Emmons Field, the lads still showed their pride by striding, even if they limped, or sitting up straighter in the saddle. They had faced trollocs and come home, but women ran their hands over sons and nephews and grandsons, often biting back tears, and their low moans made a soft, pained murmur. Tight-eyed men tried to hide their worries behind proud smiles, clapping shoulders and exclaiming over newly begun beards. Yet frequently their hugs just happened to turn into a shoulder to lean on. Sweethearts rushed in with kisses and loud cries, equal parts happiness and commiseration, and little brothers and sisters, uncertain, alternated between fits of weeping and clinging in wide-eyed wonder to a brother everyone seemed to be taking for a hero. It was the other voices Perrin wished he could not hear. "Where is Kenley?" Mistress Ahan was a handsome woman, with streaks of white in her nearly black braid. But she wore a fear-filled frown as she scanned faces and saw eyes flinch from hers. "Where's my Kenley?" "Billy," old Hugh Aldai called uncertainly. "Has anyone seen Billy Aldai?" Who? Jared, Tim, Collie. In front of the inn, Perrin fell out of the saddle in his need to escape those names, not even seeing whose hands caught him. "Get me inside," he grated. "Inside!" Tevin, Harrell, Had. The door cut off heart-lost wails, and the cries of Dale Altaran's mother, for someone to tell her where her son was. In a trolloc cookpot, Perrin thought, as he was lowered into a chair in the common room. In a trolloc's belly, where I put him, Mistress Altaran, where I put him, he thinks. Fail had his head in her hands, peering into his face worriedly. Care for the living, he thought. I'll weep for the dead later. Later. I'm all right, he told her. I just got a little lightheaded dismounting. I've never been a good rider. She did not believe him.
That's brutal.
Yeah.
I mean, this is really where Perrin became my favorite character, is that he goes through some of the most brutal losses, some of the most, he really feels this in a way. Aiel warriors who've been warriors their whole lives. It's not some army. These are the people he grew up with, and every death means something to him. Every death is a friend of his that he is losing. And he is suffering the wails of the mother, and it's just... this is a heart-wrenching scene, this whole
really
thing.
Powerful scene. And there's a lot going on here, too, because Perrin is dying currently.
Yeah.
He's
slowly, but yeah, he's dying.
Got a big old hole poked through him with trolloc arrows still sticking out of his one of his sides. It's lodged in his ribs, so they can't get it out.
And it's been there for days. He's infected. It's like the infection's spreading in his blood. He is, developing a fever. We'll see. He starts to develop the symptoms of a fever and delirium before he gets healed by Alanna.
But he does stay conscious long enough that we see this kind of the rest of this introductory scene where they're like carry Perrin into the inn and put him in a chair. Mm-hmm. That was in the read through, and Perrin's noticing as he's like kind of escorted through the big rooms that all the walls except for by the fireplace are covered in spears now, and there's a barrel filled with swords by the stairs at the bottom of the inn.
Everyone's getting ready to fight.
At the bottom of the stairs. Yeah. And so this is all changing now, and there's all the stakes. I mean, I think that was the last chapter where Perrin noticed that. But
they were coming into the two
fortifications
rivers.
And the catapults. And
do you want to start the catapult versus trebuchet argument, or should we just admit that catapults...
Explain the difference? They're powered in different ways. A catapult is a tension device. So in ancient times, they would just twisted rope to like a crazy degree so that it'll fling when you like release the catch. A trebuchet is a counterweight system that I don't know how to describe properly, but it's basically a rock on one side that you pull to the ground, and when you let it go, yeah.
It's a seesaw in a lot of ways.
Yeah, just like that.
With the fat kid is the rock weight. And
it's a
the little
counterweight and lever system. Yeah. And then a sling also on one end. So a trebuchet is way more, or a trebuchet, I think it is a way more complicated thing.
Depends on whether you're going with the French-ish pronunciation, where trebuchet would be, you wouldn't pronounce the T in...
Oh, is it Shay? I always thought it was Shay, and someone corrected me a while ago, and I was like, holy shit, I've been doing it wrong this whole time. Never looked it up.
Discord looks like they're agreeing on Shay. Trebuchet, not trebuchet.
Oh. Well, then some jerk corrected me, and they were wrong.
Yeah, you should have told them to go pound sand.
I don't even remember who it was. Someone said that.
Anyway, so they're sticking with catapults. Probably, do you think they're just using, like, bendy wood? Because they do have a lot of wood.
I think it operates like you turn a crank to create the tension in the ropes. And and the ropes hold another, like a long post, which is your lever arm that throws, right?
My assumption always was that you have this basically triangle, and by shortening the rope, the main arm is anchored on one end and then held up, and then by shortening the rope, you're essentially bending it in an arc backwards, and by releasing the rope, you're allowing the tension that you built up in the arm to release.
Probably some of that too. I'm looking at pictures now.
I honestly don't know how catapults work.
Oh, interesting. So you can do it with just rope tension, but then there's also like other designs that use like essentially a giant bow that's like made out of metal, and you can do that as well. Apparently,
I was just thinking about doing that with big trees, basically tree trunks.
I've never seen that one before. Yeah, you could totally. And I'm lost scrolling through pictures of weapons now. I'll close that tab.
The point is, they are prepared for a Trolloc raid of a certain size.
And we don't know it until the raid actually happens, but I thought this was kind of interesting. Alanna and Perrin conspire. They make these the stones that the catapults are going to throw explosive.
Yeah.
It kind of looks like seem like giant frag grenades.
Basically.
Almost like they filled the stones with pressure so that when they hit something, they blow and throw shards of stone everywhere.
Mm-hmm. That's kind of what I always thought, is like basically they have grenade launchers.
Yeah.
But I do have one serious question about this chapter. Where the fuck is Alanna?
Yeah. Don't know.
Off doing dark friend things.
I like that you're starting this. People are going to yell at you now.
I'm really like, where is she? Like, Alanna shows up, Loial shows up, and he's off cutting trees, like working, and he's there for a while. Like, what is she doing that takes her so long to be there?
We know. So Perrin has sent her warder off to go get Alanna and bring her back, but it takes quite a while, and we just don't know what Alanna was doing or where she was.
Christine says vetting potential warders.
Is that what the kids call it these days?
I need to vet your warder skills. But yeah, so that's and isn't Ivan her warder? So it's Alanna didn't
yes.
send off her own warder, so Ivan should know exactly where she is. He should go right to her, and she should be back right away. And meanwhile, Perrin's off like ordering the defense of the two rivers while she's, I don't know, meeting with Lord Luc.
Oh yeah, I totally misspoke. Varen didn't send her warder; she sent that little girl.
Right.
Right. I think in the last chapter, or
Yeah, the very end of the last chapter. My assumption is Ivan was there and saw Perrin, and then, she said this needs Alanna, and then Ivan took off to go get her.
yeah, because as soon as Perrin sits down, Fail starts like yelling at Varen, like, "Can't you do something right now? Like this is obviously pretty serious." And Varen says, "No,
It's too long for her to really heal it.
I think I better not, child. A pity neither of us is yellow, but Alanna is still much better healer than I. My talents, capital T, lie in other directions."
I highlighted that as well.
Ivan will bring her. Wait.
Her talents lie in being a spy, I think. In rooting out the dark, not necessarily in healing and magic.
It is interesting that RJ used capital T talents as Varen was speaking.
Yeah, I did notice
I don't
that.
know. Off the top of my head, I can't think of any capital T talents that Varen has. I mean, I'm sure they exist, but I don't know.
Being awesome. Varen knows that's a talent.
Just knowing everything.
Just knowing this shit that she's not supposed to.
We'll see if Discord says anything. But as far as I know, there's no capital T talents listed for Varen.
No, I think she's just literally talking about her ability as a double agent right there.
Yeah.
Secret agent, secret.
It's a real new take on 007, right? It's like a graying older woman.
It would make the sex scenes very different in the movies.
Went over the way Emmons Field looks different. Perrin starts asking after Loial, because I think he wants to tell Loial about the Waygate, which he found out about in the dream recently.
He wants to ask him how they can be opened because Loial locked them. I don't think he really wants to send Loial off to fix them, but that's what he ends up doing.
No, he doesn't. And he specifically tells Loial not to go without him. And he does.
Loial and Gall are like, yeah.
Perrin's obviously like, listen, once they get those arrows out of you, maybe you can start doing stuff, but...
Not with the way they heal these days. He's going to be on his butt for a couple of days at least.
Yeah. And there we find that Loial is working at clearing the forest back from Emmons Field so that there's a line of sight to shoot at anyone charging the town. And he's had Master Luhan make him an axe suited for an ogier. And Perrin notes when he sees it later that the axe handle is as tall as Loial is.
He put a long handle on his axe.
A very long. It's a 15-foot long handle. Just trying to imagine this axe.
It's massive. Also, I love the fact that both Perrin and Loial's axe were made by Master Luhan.
Oh, yeah.
And I think Loial keeps using this axe for most of the series.
I think that's right. But the way Perrin describes it is that like his battle axe could fit inside just the axe head of Loial's axe. So like he says the head of Loial's axe is as big as his entire... It's like a 3-foot long blade attached to a small tree.
Yeah, defend yourself from that. Not going to happen. You can dodge it, maybe, as long as you're really far away. But let me just say what I don't want to fight. An ogier with a 15-foot axe.
Yeah, right. You can't even run. They're faster than you.
Yeah, they're faster than your horse. The Ogier Gardeners in Shan-Chan are terrifying, especially with the armor and everything.
You would need like a cannon to stop one of them.
Or a channeler.
Yeah, same. Well, channeler's probably better, but...
So then he starts asking about Lord Luc, because he is convinced, or at least thinks, that Lord Luc could be behind essentially the information being given away, which he is. Slayer absolutely is.
And when they realize that Luc is nowhere to be found, even though everybody else is gathered in the town right now, Gall shifted slightly. He looked ready to go hunting.
Yeah, take him down. He betrayed us.
And Gall doesn't say it, I don't think anyone does, actually, in this scene, but I think Gaul is picking up on what Perrin's implying.
Oh, totally. I think they all think that Lord Luc was the one behind it. But Perrin gets information that Lord Luc was just in town. And he's like, well, he couldn't have been in both places at once unless he can instantly teleport.
As it turns out, he can be in two places basically at once.
Basically, yeah. I mean, he has the ability to teleport. So, like, totally he can. You think Alanna and Luc are hanging out right now?
Alanna and Luc are both missing.
Totally. And I did notice here, I thought this was an interesting line that I've never noticed before. But one of the boys, Elam, says, he's been showing me how to use a sword. Did you know he's a hunter for the horn? And a king, if he had the rights, of Andor, I hear. Which actually Lord Luc, as the brother of Tigraine, if Andor ever had kings, which they don't, because fucking crazy, but he could claim some, Lord Luc is technically the rightful heir to Tigraine if he hadn't been,
Yeah.
if he was female and hadn't been sent off into the waste.
If he married, his wife might have a claim,
Right.
depending on her family. It seems strange that Slayer would have let that information out.
Oh, well, I think Lord Luc's just bragging to boys. I think he's like, I could have been a king,
Probably.
I don't think he's like trying. He's just being like arrogant and basically a prick. But I thought it was that does seem to be just another one of those clues to Lord Luc's real identity as Tigraine's brother.
Yeah. And Perrin's kind of surrounded by some of the young boys of Emmons Field here, and they're like peppering him with all these questions about his adventures and this and that, and Perrin's not
he's like
terribly responsive.
They're my age, but they're acting like boys 5 years younger.
Yeah.
Which is how you can we'll be able to get some older actors in the TV show, because like they'll act more mature than the people around them. And so we can have actors who actually are older, and that works just fine.
And he tells them some of the stories, but he leaves out the more racy bits, like anything having to do with Kalendor or the Forsaken or the Eye of the World. Falma.
Oh, some other shit Lord Luc's been up to, where he goes out and like antagonizes the White Cloaks to try and get them up in arms against the Two Rivers folk.
Mm-hmm.
He told them Emmons Field is closed to them. Told them not to come within 10 miles.
To antagonize them.
Mm-hmm. And immediately after that, Varens starts scratching in her notebook, and I bet she's making notes about Lord Luc as a possible dark friend, because he's deliberately causing problems for the Two Rivers. If she doesn't know already. But I think she's making her notes on Lord Luc right there.
I have Loial showing up. I talked about the new axe already. He's been helping clear the fields. Perrin warns him about the Waygate. Loial tries to take responsibility, and Perrin's like, no, you told us what you were doing. We just didn't think anyone would unlock it from this side.
Right. We thought locking it was enough, but it's not. It has to be actually cut off. Oh, speaking of which, have you read A Fire in the Ways yet?
No, I only read the advance, couple of pages or whatever was released a month ago.
But technically it's not out for till the 19th, but Barnes & Noble let it out a little early, so it was fun to read. But I think it does give some real context into the ways and would help us understand what destroying a Waygate technically means. And there's a few other little nuggets in there that are actually really good and relevant to Perrin. So it's not as much as I wanted.
How long is it?
It's 33 pages paperback.
Okay.
Or hardback, probably.
Is it Unfettered that's that long?
Unfettered
or just
3. No, just that story.
Okay, nice. That's a very long chapter.
Yes, it's a very, very long chapter. It would probably be a 2-3 chapter set in the Wheel of Time. You know how he has a flash to a character and does 2 or 3 chapters on them and then flashes to a different one? That's sort of what I'm thinking is that whole little sub-story. And it does give a lot of context to the last battle. It helps you understand the Ogier. It helps you understand Perrin's forces in the Two Rivers. And it sort of helps you understand what's going to end up happening with the Ways and how they're structured. He actually talks about them as they clear them out, you see them as a more organically grown thing as opposed to something like this isolated spiral. That you sort of see them as these plants growing up to isolated hills, and the hills are just sort of floating discs. And it was just an interesting way and another way to take a look at the Ways from a slightly different perspective.
Nice. I'm definitely excited to read that. I'll probably end up doing it tonight.
Highly worth it. 1 or 2 more tidbits. I just wanted more. That's all I'm saying. So I'm not going to tell you anything more about it, but it was highly worth reading, really enjoyable, felt like a Perrin chapter, something we should definitely do an episode about sooner
It's
rather
so
than
nice
later.
when there's new WOT content, too.
Yeah, and also that chapter header, you may not have to work very hard to get me to get a tattoo of that chapter header, because it's actually like a better. It's the dragon in the wheel with a Perrin hammer through the middle of it, and I feel like it's better drawn than any of the other ones I've seen.
Yeah, I was unreasonably excited about the new chapter heading.
Yeah,
but here, really, before Alanna gets there, really, Loial tells us a little bit about how Waygates can be destroyed.
mm-hmm. And basically what he's saying, and as far as I can tell, he's talking about destroying the barrier in front of the Waygate. Actually destroying the shimmery portal seems to be virtually impossible, because any power you direct at it goes through it.
Yeah. And he says, a Waygate was destroyed once, less than 500 years after the breaking, according to Demel, daughter of Allah, daughter of Sephara, because the gate was near a steading that had fallen into the blight. And there were already 2 or 3 gates lost in the blight as it is. So that also is kind of semi-important information.
Because that's where the trollocs are originating from.
And he says, this historian wrote that it was extremely difficult, and it took 13 linked Aes Sedai, and later another attempt was made using only 9 Aes Sedai, and he trails off. He doesn't finish the story, but it sounds like they all died.
Sounds like they got sucked into the Waygate and probably taken by either Mashin Shin or just like maybe halfway in, halfway out, and that's not a good thing when a gate closes.
Yeah.
I wanted to take a slight diversion and talk about Ewan Fingar.
Yeah.
He's the guy, he also got the silver coin from Moraine. He was the squeaky little voice. He was one of the 4 that got the silver coin. And he ended up spending it. But apparently, and I didn't know this, because it's a throwaway line in Lord of Chaos, but 3 of these boys run away to go adventuring. Essentially just like, so Dav, Aelin, Elam Dautry, and Ewan Fingar all team up and like run away from the 2 rivers to go have adventures. And that's the last we hear of them. And they go they basically do the Perrin Matt Rand thing and team up and like have their own little adventure. And I kind of, we don't actually hear from any 3 of them after that point, but I kind of have this little headcanon of like them going off and having their own little side story. That would be a really good fanfic story about the 3 of them going off and having adventures before the last battle.
Probably landing in some army somewhere.
Totally.
And just as Fail is starting to yell at Varen again, he's effing dying, woman, you have to do something, Alanna walks in the door right at that moment. It's because Perrin starts asking for water.
There's a couple of little things in the conversation I wanted to point out. Just that Elam points out that Fail is a lady and seemed to be dancing attendance on Perrin pretty sharp. Fail, the next line is, Fail no longer appeared to be amused for some reason. And just and you couldn't figure that out. There's just a little conversational things that are going in here. I think that Loial comes in looking angry, and Perrin's like, oh, it must be because he's cutting down trees, but I think it's because Perrin's hurt, honestly. Not necessarily because of the trees. I think he's sad because of the trees. I think he's angry because Perrin's hurt. Just a thought.
The 2 Rivers men think it's strange the way Loial acts. Because although he's helping cut the trees, he's sad, mourns.
Yeah, he's crying, but being way more. He's cutting down 3 times as many as anybody else.
Yeah, I kind of imagined him sobbing and taking out trees in single axe blows.
Chop, chop, chop. Tree goes down.
Cry
the big
a little,
ones take 3.
Get yourself together. Do the next
one. He wipes his eyes between each tree. It's tears rolling down his mustache, down his eyebrows.
Aww.
Into his beard. If I remove both Avian Desor leaves completely, they will die. That means the only means of opening the gate again will be for the elders to bring in the Talesmen of Growing, though I suppose an Aes Sedai could cut a hole in it. So again, I think that's where he's just referring to the barrier of living stone that covers up the gate. Because if you blow a hole in it, then you can still go through the shimmering portal.
Right.
So I really think it's almost impossible. Once that shimmering portal is created, I'm not sure without the Talesmen of Growing, I'm not sure it's possible to destroy these things at all. You can destroy the barrier that covers it up, the wall that covers it.
Yeah.
And as we see, you can destroy the paths leading to the gateway.
So it would be a gateway to nowhere.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
you can't really destroy the gateway itself. And that's sort of the foundational anchors that link our world to the ways.
We should say Waygate. I'm sorry if we just confused anyone. We're just kind of using gateway and Waygate.
Yeah. Well, I guess,
Interchangeably.
the Waygate is sort of the whole thing. When I'm thinking about the gateway, I'm thinking about the shimmering portal that you actually step through, whereas the Waygate is sort of that like stone barrier in front of it.
Kind of permanent gateway that is created by the Waygate.
Exactly. They connect you to the ways, which is a whole alternate world path.
It seems silly, but I didn't really notice until right now that Waygate and gateway are the same words. Just
I didn't know. I
never really thought about it.
They in my head they feel like two totally different words, but gateway and Waygate. That's God damn it, Jordan. That's really clever. How did I never notice that before?
Yeah, I never really thought about it.
No,
it's
me
like it's the same word.
And that's where the term the ways come from. Is
It's a gate to the ways.
a gate to the ways. It's a gateway, but it's a Waygate. God damn it.
There's some more subtle stuff. So like as Alanna arrives, I just thought it was kind of interesting, and it speaks to Robert Jordan's probably experience or research, but it happens a couple of times through the chapter. Perrin keeps thinking like, oh, it doesn't hurt so much anymore. Oh, it hurts even less now. And he's like starting to get hot, like feverish and thirsty. But he's like, now he can barely even feel it anymore. He's like, no, I'm fine. Like, it doesn't hurt anymore. It's like because you're dying, because your body doesn't work anymore.
The worst part of frostbite is when you stop feeling cold.
Yeah. When you start feeling warm,
You're in real
you're pretty
trouble.
much already dead. Yeah.
So a lot of people they find a lot of people naked in the snow because as they get in serious trouble, they start feeling hot rather than cold because their nerves are all fucked up, and so they start like stripping because they're like basically my nerves are on fire.
Yeah. There's some fun stuff like as Perrin, well, I'm saying fun, but some interesting lines, just Perrin being confused and like everybody's looking down at him with an alarmed or fearful look on their face, and he can't understand why.
I thought this was a really good POV of someone who is sick because from his perspective, he doesn't understand why everyone's freaking out. But if you've ever,
fine, it doesn't
I feel
even
fine.
hurt.
I don't know what's the problem.
But everybody around is like, if it doesn't hurt, that's real bad.
Right.
Yeah.
And you got a fever and you're fasting out. And the same thing like when I've been in an accident where like I've been on the ground hurt and I'm like, why is everybody so concerned? And then later I think back and I'm like, oh, I'm in shock. Everyone's so concerned because they just saw someone like go head over heels in a handlebar and bleeding. It's a real fucking problem and you need to do something about it. And I'm guessing it's even worse when people like are shot or have some serious wound and they disassociate. And they're like, well, I'm not hurt. Why is everybody so worried? It's very hard for our mind to comprehend that.
Yeah. Well, I'll read us out. We can chat more about it. The arrowhead truly did not seem to hurt as much as it had, but he ached all over. Loial was carrying him somewhere, bending through doorways. There was Mistress Luhan, biting her lip, eyes squinched as if about to cry. He wondered why. She never cried. Mistress Elvire looked worried, too. Mistress Luhan, he murmured. Mother says I can be apprenticed to Master Luhan. No, that was a long time ago. That was... What was? He could not seem to remember. He was lying on something hard, listening to Alanna speak. Barbs are caught on the bone as well as flesh, and the arrowhead has twisted. I must realign it with the first wound and pull it out. If the shock does not kill him, I can then heal the damage. I have done as well as the rest. There is no other way. He's near the brink now. Nothing to do with him, Perrin thinks. Loial smiled down at him tremulously, her face upside down. Had he really once thought her mouth was too wide? It was just right. He wanted to touch her cheek, but Mistress Elvire and Mistress Luhan were holding his wrists for some reason, leaning with all their weight. Someone was lying across his legs, too, and Loial's big hands swallowed his shoulders, pressing them flat to the table. Table? Yes, the kitchen table. Bite down, my heart, Fael said from far away. It will hurt. He wanted to ask her what would hurt, but she was pressing a leather-wrapped stick into his mouth. He smelled the leather and the spicewood in her. Would she be hunting with him? Running across the endless grassy plains after endless herds of deer? Icy cold shivered through him. Vaguely he recognized the feel of the one power, And then there was pain. He heard the stick snap between his teeth before blackness covered everything.
She must have started healing before twisting it.
Well, I thought anyway that, I think Alanna's delving him the whole time, because she's talking about the way the arrow has twisted and things, and she wouldn't know that it's essentially slipped between his ribs and turned a little.
Right.
So you can't just yank it out now.
Because the barbs
So
are going to
Alanna's
catch
saying,
on the
like,
ribs.
yeah, first I have to wrench the thing sideways and then, force it out. And then
Which is going to
if
do
he
a
lives
heck of a
through
lot
it,
more damage.
I can heal him after that, yeah.
So basically she's cutting her way through a bunch of infected flesh in his wound.
Yeah, or maybe turning the arrow with the power rather than wrenching it with her hands. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good question. Is someone actually... Do they have, like... I mean, obviously, you need Mistress Luhan and Mistress Alvir. I like that the two women are the one holding down his arms. Those are the strongest people that they have to hold him down. So I wonder who's lying across his legs.
Yeah, Sakan, to answer your question, Alanna says, or what Perrin manages to hear, says, barbs are caught on the bone as well as flesh and the arrow has twisted. She says I must realign it with the first wound and pull it out. So if the shock doesn't kill him, then I can save him.
But yeah, I was going to say, the only thing that's really keeping Perrin down is probably Loial on his shoulders. So that all Mistress Luhan has to do is deal with, like, one arm.
Yeah.
Because otherwise he'd be, like, going all over the place.
Brutal.
Yeah. No, this is definitely, again, the experiences in the Two Rivers just feel so much like Jordan and his war buddies and some real first person, maybe I'm just projecting, but it feels very first person war experience to me. And that's, knowing he has that experience, it's hard not to read into it.
Yeah.
All right, so I have to tell you the story. What was it, 3 days ago? I go to turn the dryer on, and I throw the laundry in.
Yes. You mentioned this, but tell the story.
Yeah.
Tell the story.
And I throw the laundry in, close the dryer, turn it on, and sparks come cascading down from a water pipe about 10 feet away. And I'm like, wait, what the fuck?
Absurd.
What the fuck? So I hit stop on the dryer, kind of look over there, don't see anything. Try to hit play again. Sparks. What the fuck is going on? So I walk over to it with the dryer running, and I can actually see a little arc is going on between the pipe. A little electrical arc is going on between the pipe and the metal tie that's tying it to the roof beam. And so there's this, like, bright, hot arc of electricity going between the two pieces of metal, maybe an inch.
So scary.
An inch away from the support beams of the house. And I'm just like, what the fuck is going on? So I immediately, I throw the power, I throw the switch to the circuit breaker because it's right there.
Mm-hmm.
And, turn everything off, tried a few different things. Ended up touching the pipe after the circuit breaker was off, and it was hot enough that it burned the shit out of my finger. So I knew something was going on, but it wasn't, and it's called the landlord. He was like, oh, I'll send someone out. Dude, electrician was here within 25 minutes.
Yeah.
And he looked at it and he was like, oh, your ground wire came undone. Your house isn't grounded. So there's this big copper wire that's normally tied to that pipe because this is an old house, and they used to ground the electrical system through the water metal pipes that were in the ground, which made a lot of sense because you had this big ass metal tube.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened was basically the clamp that was designed to go around the water pipe and also connect the wire had either not been installed properly or just over time had broken. And so the house had come ungrounded. And
so scary.
The electricity in the house was finding its own way to ground.
Yeah, that's how old buildings burn to the ground.
Yeah. And I'm just like, oh, that's bad. And the fix was really simple. He screwed a wire onto a clamp. He clamped the wire onto a pipe. Like it took like 30 seconds. Like that was it. But it's just one of those things where I had this just heart stopping. Like fuck, I am gonna burn. And I wasn't sure that the pipe was a water pipe. Since we have a gas down here, I thought it was a gas pipe at first that was sparking.
Oh God!
And I was just like, holy shit, I'm gonna blow myself up. What is going on? So that got my heart fucking racing. In other news, I have my car back. It's been stolen now and returned 3 times.
Sorry, it's
Shut
not
up.
funny, but it's kind of funny. Like what the? It's just so absurd.
It's so easy for people to steal. So I've clubbed it. So hopefully the officer said that he rarely ever has a stolen car that has a club on it. So hopefully that makes the difference. On a side note, I do have a Google photo book from some very nice man who apparently either stole or bought a stolen car that he left in it on my way back. So he took some actually really nice vacations. I'm a little jealous. I guess you can afford nice vacations when you buy stolen cars.
Yeah, that's really weird that was there.
And then, okay, so here's the other thing. It definitely got hit at some point, well, on its passenger side. But I didn't notice it right when I got the car back. I only noticed it after I went to the grocery store afterwards. And some lady saw me and sped off in a really nice car. And I'm like, wait a minute. Did I just get hit in the parking lot? Or did I get hit when it was stolen? I really don't know. So either it's entirely possible that not right after I got the car back, someone hit me in the parking lot. But it's probably more likely that, there's vomit over the side of the car, so someone was driving drunk, I'm sure. And so I'm guessing they sideswipe something or
something.
You're trying to this dude, he's got anyway, I'm not going to talk about him, but you learn a lot from someone's life out of what they leave in your car when they drive around for a week or so.
It's really weird. It makes me wonder because a person who goes on exotic vacation, takes photos, and then has them printed into a book, doesn't steal old cars, It's just weird. It just makes me wonder about what happened.
I think he got sold the car. That would be my guess, is that he was just like, you know what, I'm going to go fishing. Some dude, whoever stole it was like, it's hard not to know that without papers the car isn't stolen, but I'm guessing someone probably scammed him out of some money. Because it looks like he may have gone fishing with his girlfriend or something. I don't know. The dude looks like Ben from Lost in his photos. So I think or there's also a hipster-looking dude with a beard in the photos, but I don't think that's the main guy. So anyway, or it could be the girlfriend too. I don't know.
I've heard all kinds of weird stories that are, weird scams like that.
Or he just may have stolen the car because, welcome to Portland. That and taxes, which we should talk about at some point, because they are due tomorrow for the business.
Oh, shit. I didn't know that. Are you sure it's March 15th?
For businesses.
Huh.
So that
I didn't know that.
Because what it is we have to do our taxes early so that we can then send all the paperwork to the individuals, right? Because I have to send the finished paperwork to, supposedly our employees, you and me, basically. So there's a separate form that I have to fill out, the schedule. So I fill out a 1065 for the business and 2 Schedule K1s, and that we each get a Schedule K1 so that we can do our personal taxes. But the business taxes have to be done first, which is why the deadline's a month earlier, so that all the individuals have time to do their taxes. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Yeah. So I did all my personal taxes without the K1.
I still haven't done mine. They're sitting behind me right now.
And the logic. I'm kind of taxes. The business taxes have been kind of a fun little puzzle to figure out. And I really enjoyed it yesterday. And I think anyone who hears me say that is going to look at me and go, you're insane. I just wish that the explanations were a little more clear.
That's me. I look at a bureaucratic document and I immediately feel defeated and upset. It's like...
I really do. I treat it like a crossword puzzle. I go through once, I fill in what I can fill in, and then I figure out, okay, I know these things, I don't know those things, And then like I'm able to sort of figure out a few things, and then I have to look up a few things, and then usually that only leaves like 1 or 2 fields that I'm like, I don't really fucking know how these work. Maybe I'll just leave them blank and someone will yell at me. Or make assumptions and usually like check the first thing. It's fun to see the numbers pop out at the end and see like, oh yeah, I really do get and then I'm using TurboTax to do a lot of all my personal accounting, and then the business accounting is actually easier right now than the personal accounting.
Yeah, I wish I had some news to match, but I really don't. I just did stuff for Julia's birthday and destroyed an aphid infection in one of my rose bushes. That's all.
How'd you take it out? What'd you use?
Soap. Yeah, that's the way I was always taught to do it. You just like put a couple of drops of soap in like a Windex bottle, soap and water, and just shake it up. And
does that kill the
aphids? It looks okay.
Or just prevents them from like getting in there?
It kills them.
Yeah,
that's what they say anyway.
It's kind of crazy. Yeah, I find sometimes the simplest solutions, like vinegar and water, bleach and water, like sometimes just dilute powerful chemicals.
If you use the right soap, like it doesn't hurt the plant.
Right. Yeah, obviously I wouldn't use bleach and water for the plant.
It took me a while to figure out what's going on because it's a little baby that I've been growing in a window, and it's like that bright green color. Mm-hmm. It's exactly the same color as the aphids. So it took me like a week to realize. I was like, why? Is it the screen in the window? Is it blocking too much light? Like, I let it dry out and then like rewatered it. I did all this. Yeah.
Oh man. So I killed a plant in a pot and then brought it inside, and it's like the roots were still there and it sprouted this whole new thing. And so I like put it back outside and it froze and killed it again. And I'm like, oh, you tried, and I still can't keep you alive. You even came back.
You might be able to revive it.
Yeah, it's back inside. It's just, I was thinking it was spring a little too early. Yeah, that, and I think I'm making a go at an avocado plant again. I always give those a shot whenever I have an avocado.
I want to try to do some stuff like that this summer, like just grow edible stuff in the house.
Yeah.
Got that nice sun porch that's like enclosed, but all windows. I got to try to grow some food out there.
Totally. Yeah, there was like that, the raised beds we have here, that it was always like, oh, we should really like grow something in those. A year later, we haven't done anything.
Want to go to the bar? Yeah.
Oh, I made a smoothie out of a bunch of those frozen raspberries you picked from last year. It was really good.
Oh, good. I forgot all about those.
Yeah. So we've gone through one of the 2 bags you picked last year.
You can feel free to have them, or I could take them. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, whatever. They're good in smoothies. I was showing off the blender.
Oh, yeah, they should be perfect because they're frozen solid.
Yep. No, it was actually like almost like a sorbet when we were done, because it was like I threw a banana, some yogurt, and frozen berries in there, and like just enough milk to get it to move. And nice. So it just came out like thick enough that it was very sorbet-like. So it was nice.
I did learn about grilled fruit, like, just a couple of summers ago. Someone brought peaches to a barbecue, and I was like, what? What are you going to do with that? They just threw it right on the barbecue. It's great.
Caramelizing those sugars is fantastic.
Yeah.
Because once you can caramelize...
Kelsey says pears. They brought peaches to that. I don't even remember who it was. Friend of a friend.
I mean, I kind of think of it like grilled tomatoes, right? Like, that makes a lot of sense to people. But they pretty much have the same sugar content as a lot of these other fruits.
Yeah, I just didn't think, I didn't think of barbecue as like something that could be sweet, or should be, until I ate one of those peaches, and I was like, why didn't anyone tell me about this before?
I mean, there's very little that isn't improved by being thrown on the grill.
I guess that's true, isn't it?
I mean, White Cloak questioners knew that.
Thank you for listening to the Wheel of Time Spoilers podcast. Rate us in the Apple Podcast app or support us on Patreon. Is that good enough?